Do you hear that? It's the sound of chess pieces hitting the board. We have a new game to analyze, and I hope you're ready, because this is a pretty big one. Okay, so in the title, you might notice that this video has game 1.5, and also it says part 1. And that is because this game ends in a draw. Spoiler alert, I know. But yeah, it ends in a draw. So there will be a rematch soon. Well, soon enough. I don't have an exact date, but there will be a rematch in the future, near future. And we are still kind of deciding if it's going to be a regular rematch, just 30 minutes, regular rapid game, and everything's going to be normal, or if it's going to be a blitz game, but we are pretty much unanimously decided that's going to be a rapid game, but, if anything changes, I will likely have a comment in this video's description, and go check that out. If I have a comment there, then it's been decided. Okay, now, let's get started with this game. Kolby is on the bottom in white, and Bray is on top in black. We start with a King's Pawn opening. Pretty, common opening. Nothing wrong with that. And we do a Scandinavian defense, which is another, common opening. I actually play the Scandinavian pretty often. Let's see the response here. Okay. So we have immediate check on Kolby's part. And obviously now we have, this is the simplest form of pushing known to chess. It literally just, this pawn move moves, forces the bishop to either move back all the way, or, partially, or even go here, but that's only played by amateurs, and in that case, there's another push with that pawn. So, let's see what happens. Oh, okay. So didn't push with the pawn, instead defended with a bishop, suggesting a bishop trade. Let's see what, okay, bishop trade, was declined, and, that was a bad move, because Bray now gets free bishop. The bishop is free. The bishop's not defended. And, okay. So, Bray missed the bishop. But this was a free bishop, and, Bray missed it. So, yeah, that's fine. So moving the pawn up, and now you're pushing, forcing retreat, and does Bray do the second part of the push? Yes, of course he does, because Bray is a experienced player that also missed a bishop, but whatever, I am not throwing shade. That is the only move that makes sense. And, now we have the knight here attacking this pawn, which is fine. You can't take the pawn because of that, but then there's that. So, as of right now, the only really thing that this knight can do is force a, addition, so perhaps trying to force Kolby to do that, to then do a knight trade, or even doing this bishop, moving it there, perhaps. As of this point, right now, Bray does not really have too much of an opportunity with this knight move, but in the future, he could build something up. He could even go to g4 or to h5. h5 doesn't really do much, but g4 does move the knight up, and also prepares a perhaps not mate, but it pairs either this or this, which in the right circumstances could be very beneficial. Right? For example, let's say he does this, right? Oh, we can't. Well, it has not his move right now. So let's say Kolby is okay, so he is gonna go there, right? So he's gonna go here. So I'm gonna move my pawn up to there, right? And now this move is gonna make sense, right? Because he can go to the side and continue. But after that, what is there really? Because, what there is there's pushing. Because this is just pushing now. Bray has to retreat this knight. So that move makes sense until you realize there's a simple push, and you always gotta look out for pushes with pawn pushes. So anyway, we are back here at this point, and then we have e6 being played. Oh, actually, hold on, let me go back here. So we have, well, first we have c4 being played by Kolby, which is a very interesting move. Honestly, I don't see the exact plan here, because obviously these pawns are both on this pawn, but in the same, vein, this bishop and this pawn is also on that pawn. So at this point, Kolby really has more to lose than Bray does here, because if it's, let's say it's take, and then it's take, and then it's take, then, Kolby has the winning position here, because those pawns are just moved out of the way, right? And then even, if this pawn gets moved at any point, then you can easily protect like that, and then if it's, well, obviously if it's take, it's take with the queen, or even with the rook over there. But if it doesn't do that, which is not going to happen very often, there is this, after that, let's say he just tries to take, there is now this. Well, actually, that is check. That is probably one of the better moves here. You could perhaps move that, and then after that, what you can do is move towards... Oh, actually, let me just move. Actually, I just realized something. I just found out a pretty insane move that Bray could do here. Is by moving up this pawn and then letting the queen out. But anyway, accidentally found a pretty crazy play. But anyway, let's see what actually happens. So instead of taking, Bray moves up his e6 pawn and moves up to, moves up e7 pawn, moves it up to e6, protecting the d5 pawn, which is an interesting move. It's fine, because see, this d5 pawn was already protected by this and this, so I don't really see the exact point here, but whatever. No, not too much problem with that. Okay, and Kolby now moves his queen up, protecting both this bishop, this pawn, and this pawn. Except there's really not too much of a reason to do that, right? Because at this point, I mean, look at this. Let's say, Bray does this, right? And then it's take, and then it is... Well, actually, Bray has a choice here. Bray can either take here or take here. Obviously, taking here is a better option, because if the queen takes, which is the only thing that is actually putting pressure on that, the queen is getting taken, and it's an infinitely worse position, right? So, if Bray sees taking the c4 pawn, then this game is very much in the favor of Bray here. So let's see what happens. Okay, so bishop check is what happens, which is interesting move. Queen check would definitely have been a better move, because at that point, they would already be being behind the bishop, and let's say, so, let's go back here. If you want to do check, you can do queen check here, right? And then you either have to move your king, which you could do, or move your queen in the way, or move your knight in the way. And those are the only options here. Now, it is unlikely for Kolby to move his king here, only because of this bishop, right? If Kolby is thinking in the future, right, he's thinking, okay, well, this pawn can move like here, and then this can be like there, and if he sets up like a knight structure here, and he takes at some point, then that bishop is right there, ready to take my king. Now, if he's thinking in the future, he is not likely to move his king. But if he's thinking in the really far future, he's going to realize, okay, well, after this, he has this check, right? And if I move here, then I will be safe, because, we can see. So he moves there, right? Obviously, he's not going to take, because it's a free queen, right? And at this point, what can be done is this, right? after this, though, there is this, attacking the bishop, which forces the bishop to either retreat or to take, or to take the knight, because those are the only two options that do not lose a bishop. Now, retreating is definitely the best option, I think, or in fact, not retreating and having having perhaps the b5 pawn take on c4 and actually allowing, this. Because after this, there's now this, and then because, what is really going to happen here? Because, let's see, there's multiple checks, there's this, and then it's pretty much forced retreat. So there's a lot of different ways that Kolby can win this. So Kolby should realize. Oh, actually, hold on. Let's go back. No spoilers. Kolby should realize that this bishop being here isn't even a threat, right? But let's go back. Where were we? I actually did forget. We were here. Yes. So this bishop has now attacked. So Kolby should realize that this bishop being here is not a threat if he plays his moves right. And let's see if he does. Okay, he moves his king, which is, it's a move, right? It's not the best move because there is obviously now, this knight could come in like here and then do check, and then this is the only move. Well, let's say this move, this pawn moves, and this is also, out of the way somewhere. If this is now there, then this is the only move, right? And then if it's that, then that, and that is mate soon enough if this is moved up, and or if this queen comes out afterwards to there. So there's definitely multiple ways that mate can be used with that knight, because now that that knight is out of the starting position, it is very much a good, it's a good asset for Bray here. Now, let's see what is done after this in response. Castling. Okay, that makes sense because, obviously moving the bishop out was to plan castling, and also it was just forcing Kolby not to move anything other than his king, or sacrifice one of his pieces. Barely even sacrifice, really, just trade one of his pieces, because technically, bishops are better than knights in many ways, so trading a bishop for a knight is a worse trade for Kolby's part, but it is still very close. It's not even close enough to really call it at that point. So after this, the castling, right? And in response, Kolby moves out his knight. So he moves out his knight, which is understandable because I believe that he could see Bray's knight here and see how it is very helpful to him. So that, okay, I should move out my knight. Now, I think that moving his knight to e2 was a mistake. He should have moved his knight to f3 or even h3 might have even been better, because moving his knight to e2, that doesn't really do much, really, right? Because if he's planning this, right, and then planning a either take of this or this or this, all of those pieces are protected already, right? And even if this bishop moves, right, which it wouldn't, but if it does, this pawn is protected, the c6 pawn is protected by this knight, and the e6 pawn is protected by this pawn. So it's honestly not even a good trade, right? And if he's thinking of taking the b5 pawn, it is still protected by this pawn if he doesn't take it before. So really, that move does not plan anything unless he's thinking into the very far future and has a specific plan. But at this point, Bray has a better position in a pretty big way as well. So, okay, taking. So that is interesting move. Obviously, just doing a trade here, right? And then perhaps in the future moving this bishop out of the way, which at that point, if at this point he had managed, let's say he takes, right, he sees this, and then he had moved his knight to e2. That would make a little bit more sense, because I could see his plan of trying to take one of these two pawns. Even though it would still be a flawed plan because of the protection from this knight and this pawn. But it would make a little bit more sense at this point rather than previously. But yeah, capture by trading pawns, I think it's a good move, and I think it is also a way to force checkmate in. Actually, force checkmate soon if this knight does not move, which actually, if either the horse or the queen doesn't move, and the queen cannot move without getting captured, so, so let's say there's a trade, right? Actually, there's a trade, right? This is moved out of the way. The only way to get out of this, there's two ways. There's two ways. There is by moving the horse, which is I keep going on horse, by moving the knight, which is the infinitely better way. That's, like, extremely good. It's, of the two moves, that's the better one. And the other one is by doing this, right? Which is a free queen. Like, there's absolutely no reason to do that. Also, there's this, but, like, that's just the worst move possible, because that's not checkmate, but it's actually no, that'd be a bad move. By taking it with the bishop, that would be the better move, right? So yeah, those are the options, right? But let's see if that is what actually happened. Okay, so that takes, and okay, so in the real game, the bishop is moved out, which makes sense. I can see the reason that Kolby was thinking that, if this queen is attacking and this bishop is still here and I have nothing to stop it, then that's going to checkmate. So I have to have a way for my king to get out of the way and move, which makes sense. Good logic, honestly. Except he doesn't realize that in the future, if this queen is here, let's say that this is moved, or perhaps moved in a way, or if there is so let's say in a couple moves that happens, and then this is out of the way. No, not the queen. This is out of the way, and this is moved over here, right? Or even, I'll get to that in a second. But and then this is check, right? And then there's that, which this queen is still here and this knight is still here. But let's say at some point those move in the future, which is a possibility, right? Let's say if this bishop moves at all, let's say it moves back, it would kind of make sense to try to get this out of here and perhaps castle short rather than castling long. Castling long brings you to a situation where you could have rooks on 7th, right? Rooks on not 7th because it isn't 7th, but it's rooks on 2nd, I guess you would call it. But so wherein that the king is on behind the set of 3 pawns, and if a rook gets there, it is checkmate. Or a queen even gets there, it is checkmate. So I could see the benefit in castling short rather than castling long in this situation, but I think that currently that wasn't the best move by Bray. But let's see where he takes this. Okay, so Bray, for Kolby, I mean, so earlier I said it isn't the best move for Bray, but I meant to say Kolby, because Kolby is white. Okay, so Bray takes the pawn, right? So, which makes sense. It is a pawn trade, except he is already on material because he took the pawn earlier. So now it's either taking with the queen, right? Which would make sense because it is just a pawn trade. It's just that simple. But then in a move, so it's a take, and then in a move, the queen is vulnerable. And if he wants a queen trade, that's fine because Bray is currently on material and winning, as it has a better position as well. So at this point, if Bray wants to initiate a queen trade, then that would be a liable strategy. So yeah, so taking would make sense, but also perhaps just moving the queen out of the way would make some sense. although that is a free knight in a move. So, honestly, taking would probably be the best option, because even if queen trade is enabled, there is definitely like a million ways to get out of it, so it's definitely the best move to take. Yep, and taking is what happens. That makes sense to me. No problem with that at all. After this, let's see how Bray responds. Okay, Bray responds by moving up the pawn, which makes sense, except I feel like he did a little bit too early, right? If he had something up earlier, if he had set, let's say, if he had set something like this up, right, where this knight is protected by this pawn, and then no taking there, and taking there, but let's say this moved up at some point. So let's say if he had done this, and then he had done that, which would make sense, because it would then, like, anybody that goes either on the f4 square or the d4 square, it would be taken by that pawn, and they cannot advance because and even if you wanted to move this pawn up at some point, it would be fine because they cannot advance because this pawn is here, right, and also that this would be in the way, and no advancing here either because this would be out of the way. Remember, so this is here, and then if somebody's here, they cannot advance because of this, right? So, if he did pawn e5 after a setup, that would make total sense. I just think he did it a little bit too early, but I do see the perhaps future plan here. In response, Kolby does f4, which is an interesting move to me because at this point, Bray is not material. If Bray wants to trade, he can, and there is no repercussions of that, right? So if Bray trades, it's like fine for him, because again, he's not material. And there's also multiple threats on the f4 square with the knight and also the bishop. And if going with the bishop, if the bishop is there, it can now put pressure on that knight. And after pressure is built on that knight, it can be taken and traded, but you would never really want to trade a bishop for a knight, especially in this position, because Kolby's position is riding very much so on his bishops right now. And honestly, his rooks have not moved the entire game yet, so his bishops are a very big asset and very important asset in this game at this point for Kolby. Okay, so in response to that, he doesn't take, but he does not take. He instead puts an attack on the horse, on the, I keep calling it horse, on the knight, and also pins the knight to the king. So that is a good attack. I like that attack, and honestly, I think that is a great way to actually combat Kolby's move earlier, right? Because before, it wouldn't really make much sense to do this, to pin the knight, because that is just pushing, right? That's the easiest push ever. But at this point, Bray's pin with that knight takes advantage of that entire move. So honestly, I think that was an incredible move. That might be the best move of the entire game. That move was great. Honestly, Bray, if you're watching this, absolute props. That was an insane move. How long did it take you to think about? That took you 8 seconds to think of? That's absurd, man. That's a very good move. Love that move. Okay. So anyway, how does Kolby respond? Okay, Kolby responds by trying to push. See, pushing would make sense here if there was a real push, but there isn't really, right? Because at this point, this queen, right? This queen is free, right? It's free. Nothing is protecting that queen at this point. So, yeah, have my bishop all you want. Actually, no, because this... Oh, no, what did I do? I flipped the board. There you go. Yeah, you can't have a bishop because this is check, and, yeah, you can't move on any of these squares. You must move to the C1 square, and, yeah, I have the infinitely better position, and you really can't do anything about it. And I like to mention, Bray has had this move for one move now, right? Bray has this move set up, and Kolby, not seeing that his queen's in danger, is going to be the downfall of him. Oh, except he does not see that. Bray instead takes the knight, right? So after one of the best moves of the entire game, well, actually, probably, honestly, the best move of the tournament so far, that move is just absurd. That previous move, like Bishop G4, that's just an insane move. That's honestly the best game of the tournament so far. Bray, if you're watching this, that's an absurd move. That's amazing. So yeah. But trading, right? Not the best use of your resources, right? So yeah. Obviously the king is now in check. It can be taken. This bishop. This bishop can be taken. I keep getting the pieces, the name of the pieces, which is a problem, right? So this bishop can be taken with the knight. Oh my gosh, I keep messing up the pieces. With the king, or the king can move out of the way here or here, but there's really not a reason to do that, right? Like, especially c2. This is a horrible move. It's just the worst move possible. Because now that this is here, right, that's protecting that square, and if he sees it, that is mate relatively soon. Because, yeah, but anyway, so definitely capturing, right, that's kind of the only thing you can do here. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Completely the right move. Okay, so now we see Bray's knight come into action. It has been sitting there for a while and preparing to come into action, except it came into action on the h5 square, which is an interesting place to do it, because at this point, h5 isn't really attacking anything. Right? It attacks this, but it's protected by this. It doesn't attack anything here because there's nothing there. And it is check, though, right? This is G3 is check. But check can be defended so many ways here. Like, it can go there. Like, those are all fine moves. And going there actually attacks the knight. But here's the thing, that if he does go anywhere after that, that is going to be a free rook, right? So I do see the point in that move, but keeping that knight there, or perhaps moving it to, or actually waiting until the h pawn is moved, and then going there would probably be a better move. But at this point, if he executes this plan and it works out, honestly, props. That's an absurd move. That's wonderful. That's a really good move. That's probably the second best move. Actually, that might be the best move in the entire game, in the entire tournament, even, honestly. I don't know. Anyway, so to protect from that, what can be done by Kolby here is either doing this, or doing this, or even doing... Actually, no, I can't do that. Even doing this, which protects... No, that doesn't do anything. But, this or this. But, see, the best move here isn't actually any of that. It is trading queens, right? Kolby's position is now pretty, even. It's not better than Bray's, but it is good enough that trading queens will be an asset to Kolby. And if he does trade queens, then that will be, that will be the move that could actually turn this game around for Kolby. And let's see. Oh. Okay. So, instead of trading queens, he decides to attack nothing. Literally nothing. That pawn is safe. That pawn is safe. There's nothing even over there. This pawn isn't safe, but it's a pawn and after that, you can't really do much, because you can't take, because that's safe, that is safe, you can't, nothing even there, and that's safe anyway, that's safe, yeah, so, right after possibly the best move in the game, well, not right after, but very close to after possibly the best move in the game, possibly the worst move in the game is played, and not only does that not do anything for Kolby, this now forces a three-way fork. This forks the queen, the king, and the rook. This is an absolutely insane fork, and that move on Kolby's part is perhaps the worst move in the entire game. Now, if Bray sees this, I will infinitely be proud of him, and I will infinitely think that he's better than me, even if he's not. But, will he see it? No, he does not. He tries to push the queen, even though he does not realize that there is currently no reason to do that, because this knight can be safe in one move and also fork a king, queen, and rook in one move. Now, I'm gonna be honest, that move is kind of hard to find. Like, actually, let's swap the board, right? Just looking at this, that move is a little bit hard to find. Because right now, all you're thinking is like, oh no, this queen is like right there, it's gonna get me, and I'm gonna be screwed, and that knight is like everything I've been working for. And also, this is a 30-minute match. Might have been a stressful, match. Because it's a tournament match, so this is kind of big. Right, now, hard move to find, but definitely still salvageable. Bray sells the winning position here. Let's see what happens. And, okay. So Kolby, just a trade of the queens, which is he could have done earlier, but he now is suggesting it. He's doing it on his own terms rather than, well, as you know, would have been on his own terms earlier also, but he's now doing it on home turf, kind of, ish. I don't know. It's a fine move. Trading is fine here. Like, it works. It works well enough. And actually, I don't know if Kolby even saw it, but if he did, it does now stop the fork. Right. Let's see. Okay. So the trade was not initiated, right? And, okay. So, since Kolby wanted the trade, right, you'd think that Kolby is going to now trade and have that bishop, have that rook be there. Kolby doesn't want to do that, obviously, because at that point, that rook's going to be out, and it's going to be attacking the d-file, and no more movement of your king to any of these squares. And yeah, that's the best move. The best move is trading your queens. Like, is absolutely the best move. If you do anything else, it's gonna be fine. You're gonna be like, okay, but trading your queens is kind of how you're gonna solve this entire thing. But okay, Bray takes, which is a fine move. I think that's okay. I think it's all right. Because now, if he ends up trading queens, right? Well, you take, obviously, and then after that, there is that, and then perhaps you want to take the bishop and also give check. So, okay, let's see what happens. Okay, so instead of trading queens, which I guess we would have expected him not to do because of the, situation with the rook here, he instead takes the free pawn with the bishop, right? Now, this suggest a trade of the knight for the bishop, which is a bad trade if you're losing, which Kolby happens to be losing at this point. So, yeah, not a great trade, but it is salvageable. I think that it would be okay if he traded. Actually, no, it'd probably be for Bray at this point, the best move to trade, because he'll be up a bishop. He'll be up he won't be up a bishop, but he will be, he will have Kolby's bishop, and bishops are what, like I said earlier, what Kolby's entire defense relies on mostly, because again, these rooks have not moved yet. So let's see what happens. And no, of course not. He, at this point, suggests a bishop trade, which would be a more, even trade than a knight trade. A knight for bishop is a worse trade than bishop for bishop. A better trade for Bray than bishop for bishop. So, okay. Perhaps he saw the opportunity to get his queen, out and about, and he took it. So, I see the plan. That's fine, whatever. Okay, so instead of trading, at this point, the queen is now going to move to the g4 square. And what we have here is quite an interesting position. Bray now has something absolutely insane. In fact, he has two things that are absolutely insane. Right? Bray now has check, right? With this knight. He not only has check, if he does not move his king and instead decides to take with his queen will now be in the position of Bray, giving him an almost certain win. So he also has this, right? Because again, take and then free queen, and if he decides to finally move his rook out, perhaps to try to, take the queen, because this is now going to be out of the way, and then if it's take and then that is a good move, except for the fact that the queen can not only get out of the way, it can get out of the way and give check at the same time. Right? So, Bray has two absolutely insane moves here. Will he do... Actually, he's the third. He has this as check. He has that as check. And, yeah. Which is still check. Like, it's not the best move, but it is still check. Let's see what Bray does. Okay. That's the best move. That's absurd. Yeah, that's the best move. Like, that move is absolutely, like, game-changing. Like, this move completely ruins everything about Kolby's defenses, because he loses the bishop, and this bishop can barely go anywhere, right? Also, apart from that, all of Bray's good pieces are on dark squares, except for this knight here, which is a very, don't get me wrong, a very influential piece, but the only way to get to that knight is by moving the bishop here, moving this out of the way somehow, and then moving the queen out of the way. So, the only way to get to that knight is by doing many moves that will infinitely ruin, like, your entire setup, and only for a trade. Like, that's all going to be for a trade if he does this. So, yeah. So, at this point, Bray has such a good position. Let's see what Kolby does in response. He moves his king, which makes sense. Honestly, I see what he's doing there. Because at this point, let's say he was going to try to do check, obviously not allowed because of that, and I believe that Kolby saw this check and or this check, and thought, okay, let me move that out of the way, and get to the side a little bit, See, that's a good move, except for one problem. Queen d3 check. Yeah, that's check on the diagonal, and there's really not much you can do about that, because, there's this, and there's this. Those are the only moves. So, you're going to have to do, there's also, trading queens, but that's probably not, trading queens is, like, a move, but honestly, it's not worth it at that stage. And even the best move, which is moving up at this point, there is still e3 check there, and is also protected by that. So, yeah. So, that move from Kolby's part pretty much ended the game, right? You'd think so, but no. Bray does not see that, which is reasonable. I'll be honest, that's another pretty hard move to see. But regardless, Bray doesn't see that. He tries to push the queen even more, which he's been trying to do the entire game, right, at this point. He's been trying to push this queen. He's trying to get it out. And I think he finally succeeded, right? Because the queen has to move back, or else it's getting taken. Like, nothing that is going to... no move is not going to have the queen be taken, that other than retreating. Except for, this. That is still retreating, right? But it's so much pressure here, and also adds pressure to this pawn, which doesn't seem too important, right? But at this point, if that pawn moves up, that is a free rook. So, yeah. Now, let's see what Kolby does. Obviously, moves his queen, and that's a good move. I just suggested that as, a good move. You see, it's a pretty good move, right? It would be a great move, except, you know what there is? There is check. There's still check with this knight, right? And at this point, this knight is protected. So, unless you want to trade queens, unless you want to trade a queen for a bishop, you're not going to take it. So, yeah, there is still check, and then there's that. And then, you could probably put together the pieces about how you could win with that position, right? Does he see check? No. But he is preparing check, which is almost as good, right? He is preparing check in... I think he's probably preparing check here, right? And he's actually stopping movement on the f2 square and also the g1 square, right? Now, the only move that can be done after this is this. And then there's this, and then if it's, taking, and then you can't take because it's now there, and that is a free queen. So this position and this idea from Bray is great. Except, actually, you know what I said earlier about, there's this and this and this? Yeah, no. Because this is stalemate. If right now... No, sorry, that's not stalemate. That is not stalemate. But that move forces something to happen, right? It either forces a movement of... It forces a movement of something other than the king, which is important. Because after that, let's say... I don't know. Let's say Kolby doesn't see this stopping this. After that point, this is checkmate. If this queen is taken at any point, this is checkmate. And, yeah. So, that's a good idea. Let's see what happens. Kolby takes the pawn, right? Very interesting. The pressure's been building for a while there, which is interesting. That's fine. It's kind of not the best time to do that for Kolby, but honestly, it's a time, and it worked. Oh, I see. So, this, I don't exactly see what this is setting up. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I do not see the entire plan here with that move, and doing that doesn't really help at all, unless he's planning on doing this to get that pawn out of the way. But that's quite an ordeal for just a pawn. I mean, yeah, that does advance your rook, right? And then there's that if this pawn moves at all. And then there's that. But, I mean, it's still quite an ordeal for just a pawn and a little bit of exposition, which you could have gotten earlier from, literally just doing that. For literally just doing this. So, yeah, whatever. Okay, the pawn is taken by Kolby, which, fine, whatever. I like to mention that this is still an option for Bray. There's still check there. But honestly, I think that he's kind of moved on from that entire position, and I feel like he's not going to see it. Yeah, okay. So, the knight takes the pawn, which makes sense, kind of, focused over there at that point. So, yeah. And at this point, right, that queen has now moved off of the f3 square, giving g3, like, that's mate in, I'm going to say 3, maybe 4, but that is mate soon, right? E1 is after that, after this move, there's E1, and then E3 check, attacking that, and then D1, and then E2 checkmate. E2 checkmate. So, yeah. If he sees that, that's the game ended right there. If he doesn't, well, I don't know. We'll see. Okay. He does a C check. And, yeah, that's a great move. This is still mate in 1. This is not mate in 1. This is like mate in 2, probably. Because, there was still this afterwards. If he moves, well, actually he can't really move too many places. But yeah, there's G1, G1. And then after that, that's check, right? And then there's only one move, really. There's F1. And then that is now check, mate. So, yeah, this is the end of the game, right? You think, yep. And this is mate in 1. This right here is checkmate in 1 move with bishop G3. And even if he doesn't see that, this is mate in 3, and what else is there? And this is mate in 4. So that's the end of the game, right? Oh, it is not the end of the game. Oh goodness! So that move is a bishop for knight trade, which is the exact trade I was just not doing. Okay, so there's that now, and then can't take because that is a free queen, and then Kolby pretty much has this game. Not necessarily, because there's still these 2 rooks and this knight, but Kolby has a queen out and a bishop out, and yeah. So, yeah, I'd also like to mention that, earlier when Bray moved his rook there, moving his pawns out of the way gave a pin on the rook to the king. So, yeah. But taking and trading is the only move here that will save this game. If he does the second best move, which is going there, that's mate in 2. So, does he do it? Drum roll, please. He does. Yeah, of course he does. Because at this point, I feel like Kolby's kind of gotten back into the stride of the game. Like, okay, that's the move. That's the move I have to do, right? And does it. And, yeah, that's good. Now, after this, what is there? There is still G3, right, with the knight, which stops, it stops this, which was already stopped. It also stops this, though, which was also, already stopped. So, yeah, Bray's position, okay, he gives check, and also puts pressure on this piece. Well, already had pressure. Keeps pressure on all of these pieces, and also gives check. Good move. I understand that move. Also, see, if he moves here, that's mate. Will he see it? Also, is going to move there. Okay, this is mate in 1, and mate in 1, Q. Oh my gosh, okay. He takes, not mate in 1. He instead takes the knight. Very interesting. Yes, very interesting. So, he takes the knight, which makes sense, because he had continued pressure on it, and he was kind of focused on taking that knight. Let's see what happens from here. Okay, yep, that makes sense. Check, as well as taking the rook, 100% makes sense. Yep, that makes sense. What you're gonna want to do, what you're gonna want to do here, is stop this, because after that is a free rook, because no taking there. And so there's 2 ways to stop this. You can stop it like that, stopping the queen from moving to e8, or also doing that, which also stops moving from e8, and also stops that, so you have that. Let's see what happens. Oh. Okay. So, now, again, there is this check, which stops taking, right? But there's an even better move here, which is this, because this now attacks... this now attacks this, and stops movement here and here, which is mate. If he does not move his... if he does not move his... if he doesn't move his rook here or here after queen e3, that is mate, right? Let's see. That's okay. Does not do that. But does take the pawn, which very interesting move, honestly, because can't take there because of that, because of the bishop, and take the bishop because of the pawn. So it is a loop, and after this, what really is there? There's this, which doesn't really do that much, but it perhaps you want to maybe get back there, stop, maybe do a queen trade or something, which isn't even a queen trade because like it isn't a forced queen trade. You move back all the way to there. So let's see what happens next. Yep, so that's the move I was talking about earlier that you had to protect, and he didn't. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay. Yep. Yeah, that is not a free rook. Yep, yeah, it is. No, that is. I'm sorry. I was thinking about. I thought that the pawn could do that, and I don't know why. But yeah, that's a free rook. Because that's a free rook, and then there, and he takes free rook, right? Yeah, takes free rook. Makes sense, obviously, right? This is also check if you didn't notice, and if he goes there, there is now that, which is check, and then the only move is here, right? That's the only move. No, sorry. Again, you can't do that. The only move is that, I believe, and that stops it, and then there is mate there, because of... They can't do, Blue does mate. So, yeah, right, anyway, let's see what happens. Okay, yep, that's the best move. If you went the other way, you would have been mate. Okay. Interesting. I don't see the exact plan here, I'm gonna be honest, because if he was planning on taking there, you can't, because of that, and if he was planning on really moving backwards, he would have gone there, and then, I don't really know what that move was. Well, I mean, I understand it, because the queen was, attacking, but an alternative to that would have just been moving up the rook to the d3 square, and also keeping your bishop there, because at that point, the queen cannot take the pawn, and if it does, it's a free queen. So, yeah, keeping the pressure would have been better, but okay, does not take the free pawn. Instead, goes for the rook, which makes sense. But at this point, the rook can still move. It's acting like, but it's acting like the rook can't move. The rook certainly can, and it can in fact protect all the way over here. And that does not. And there is that. I'll be honest. If the rook moves all the way over here, then there is this, which stops pretty much most movement, but again, it can just retreat away. So, yeah, there's not really too much point in that. Okay, that works too. That's a fine move. I'm okay with that. Okay, so moving the knight out, perhaps trying to do a fork with the queen and the bishop, which makes sense, or perhaps just trying to gave check in. Well, neither of those are check, but perhaps in the future those will be useful. Makes sense. It's a fine move. Okay. Yep. Kolby gives check. Makes sense. Yep. Okay. Right. What there is now is this, though, right? That's check, and then it's taking, and then it's taking back, and then nope. It has to either go there or there, and then if he goes there, well, if he goes here, there's that, that's safe, and if he goes here, there's not too much, actually. There is check here, but obviously there's the knight there. So yeah, I mean, okay, it doesn't see that, which is kind of reasonable. It's kind of hard to see. I mean, kind of. I don't know. Okay, taking that, actually, great move, wonderful move, because Bray obviously saw that that was a possibility, that check was a possibility, and perhaps checkmate in a couple moves if that wasn't put to a stop, and he stopped it. Wonderful move. Okay, yep, check. Let's see what happens after this. Okay, moving there, I don't really love that move because it kind of, you'd think it would hide behind this pawn structure, which I mean it does. But at this point, there's still let's say that's moved up, and then so there was multiple opportunities here for checks still. So actually, I mean, even this is that's just check. So let's see what he does. Okay, instead of checking on the d8 square, he checks on the h6 square, which is fine, because obviously he can't go there. But at this point, that's an option. And then, there's that, and then so, I mean, yeah, okay, obviously. See, that's a blunder. That's 100% a blunder. Because, that's free. That's just absolutely free now. So, yeah. And it takes, yep, that's free. Okay, so, Bray could win this game now. I mean, Bray could absolutely win this game now. Oh my god. Okay. So, Bray's winning this game. Right? Because that is check. That's check. And then he has to move there because of this knight attacking both of these squares. He must move up. And then, what even is there? There's F2. And then F2. Is there F2? Oh, no, there isn't. There is, Oh, no, here's what there's this, which stops this all the way to there, so it has to be there, and it's protected by that. And then after moving to F1, F2 is checkmate. So Bray is winning this, right, at this point. Okay, I mean, that's fine. That is a good move. It's not the best move, but it is a good move. Let's see what happens now. Okay, another check, except that wasn't the best move. The move before was fine, but that wasn't the best move, because that check let him move up, and before he couldn't even move up, so, okay. Actually, let me go back there for a second. Taking the pawn, and then going there to check on the queen, on the king, right? Obviously. Fine move, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, so that's obviously the best move, but it stops check, and also if it's taken, then there's that. And then there's the king, and if taken there, it's now that. So, good move, really good move. Okay. So, that now allows check, right? That just allows check right there. Actually, not just right there. That allows check right there. And both of those are safe. Even right there, that's check. And all those are safe. So, let's see. Yep, makes sense. And, okay, yeah, fine. Okay, so moving back down, so I guess I kind of see the plan here, okay, and now obviously you, okay, I mean, actually no, that's good, you could have kept giving checks, but taking the, taking the rook, just getting out of the way, makes sense. Okay, takes the pawn, and advances the pawn, okay, giving check again, moving back, giving check again, and then moving back up, okay, giving check on the A2 square at this point, and then stopping it with the knight, makes sense. All is good, okay, obviously trying to go for the knight, putting pressure on the knight here, makes enough sense, yeah, okay, that's fine. I like to mention that going anywhere really is kind of a win. Like, you only have two moves here. You have this, you have oh no. You have this, and going either of those places is really, made soon enough. So, yep, okay, and he takes the game, right, yeah, I mean, it's not really the best move, but whatever, it's good enough. Okay, he takes the pawn, I think. Yeah, I mean, just based on Bray's playstyle and what I've observed in this game, he takes the pawn, giving check, yeah. Okay, giving check again, and now giving check again, moving out of the way, giving check again, and moving out of the way, giving check, and also taking the pawn, moving out of the way. Okay, yep, again, moving out of the way, giving check. So this is just a bunch of checks from Kolby here, and, yeah, I mean, it's just a ton of checks, and still, actually, until here, which the queen is now moved in the way, except it's still, check, and then there's that, and then there's check, and then there's that, and then there's check, and then there's that, and then check, and then there's that, and then check, and then boom, and then check, not check. And then he trades queens. He trades queens, giving him insufficient material. And now you might be starting to notice where the draw comes in from. Okay, so after trading queens, Kolby now has insufficient material, and Bray has sufficient material. So let's see what's going on here. And, yeah, it's into the game. That is a draw by insufficient material versus time. So Bray lost on time, and Kolby doesn't have enough material to do checkmate or win the game. Yep. That was a pretty insane game. Some of the best moves in the entire tournament were played in this game by Bray. Two of those moves would have been absolutely insane. Oh, there was that one with a three-way fork with the queen, rook, and king. That would have been absolutely insane. But that was not seen, which was fine. But Bray's bishop move earlier was genuinely absurd. But yeah, that's the end of the game. And that's the end of a very long analysis of not even a real game. Because that game was just a tie. So now there's going to be a new one and an official one. And, oh geez, I'm going to have to do this all over again. Okay, see you next time.